The rise of corporate giants. How MNCs are shaping the global economic landscape. The world economy is changing. Globalization has brought countries closer. MNCs are at the heart of this change. They drive global trade and investment. MNCs are powerful actors on the world stage. They impact our lives profoundly, producing goods and providing services. Their decisions shape global policies. Understanding MNCs is crucial for the modern world. Driven by technology, trade liberalization, and market search. As MNCs grow, so does their influence, operating across borders with unprecedented reach. The power of the purse. Why MNCs wield significant influence on economic policies. MNCs are powerful entities. They have significant economic resources. Their revenue often surpasses the GDP of many nations. This financial clout gives them enormous leverage in the global arena. Governments are eager to attract MNC investments. They offer incentives such as tax breaks, subsidies, and deregulation. They believe that MNCs will bring jobs, technology, and economic growth. This competition among nations gives MNCs considerable bargaining power. MNCs use their influence to shape economic policies in their favor. They lobby governments to lower taxes, reduce regulations, and open up markets. They threaten to relocate if their demands are not met. This pressure can be difficult for governments to resist. The influence of MNCs is not always negative. They can bring significant benefits to host countries. However, their power must be balanced with the needs of society and the environment. A tale of two worlds. How MNCs approach developed and developing economies. MNCs operate in a diverse range of countries. Their strategies differ depending on the economic and political context. In developed countries, MNCs often face greater scrutiny and regulation. Developed countries have strong institutions, established legal frameworks, and a robust civil society. They are more likely to hold MNCs accountable for their actions. MNCs operating in these countries need to be mindful of public opinion and comply with stricter environmental and labor standards. In developing countries, MNCs may encounter weaker institutions, less stringent regulations, and fewer checks and balances. This can create opportunities for MNCs to operate with greater freedom and maximize their profits. However, it is essential to note that this is not always the case. Many developing countries are actively working to attract responsible foreign investment. They are implementing reforms to improve governance, strengthen institutions, and protect the rights of workers and the environment. Case studies. Unveiling the strategies of MNCs in action. Examining specific cases provides insights into the real-world impact of MNCs on economic policies. The case of Apple's operations in China illustrates the complex dynamics at play. Apple's presence in China has brought jobs and investment. However, concerns have been raised about working conditions in Apple's supply chain. This highlights the ethical dilemmas and the need for greater transparency and accountability. Another case study is the pharmaceutical industry's influence on intellectual property rights. Pharmaceutical companies lobby for strong patent protection. This allows them to maintain monopolies on life-saving drugs. While this incentivizes innovation, it also limits access to affordable medicines, particularly in developing countries. These cases demonstrate the importance of understanding the specific context in which MNCs operate and the need for nuanced policy responses. They also highlight the need for greater corporate social responsibility and a more equitable distribution of the benefits and costs of globalization. Section 5. Expert Insights. Voices from the front lines of global economic policy. To gain a deeper understanding of the issues at hand, it's essential to consider the perspectives of experts working in this field.
Economists emphasize the potential benefits of MNCs. They argue that MNCs can boost economic growth, create jobs, and transfer technology. However, they also acknowledge the risks of regulatory capture and the need for strong institutions to ensure fair competition.
Labour rights advocates raise concerns about the impact of MNCs on workers' rights. They point to cases of exploitation, low wages, and unsafe working conditions. They argue for stronger labour standards and greater worker representation in decision-making processes.
Environmental activists highlight the environmental footprint of MNCs, particularly in extractive industries. They call for stricter environmental regulations and a shift towards more sustainable practices.
By considering these diverse perspectives, we can develop a more comprehensive understanding of the complexities of MNC's influence on global economic policies. Section 6. Theoretical Underpinnings: Navigating the Waters of Neoliberalism and New Mercantilism. The relationship between MNCs and global economic policies can be analyzed through different theoretical frameworks.
Neoliberalism advocates for free markets and reduced government intervention. It argues that MNCs drive economic growth and benefit society.
Critics argue it leads to inequality and environmental degradation. They advocate for more government regulation to protect the public interest.
New Mercantilism views economic policy as a tool for national competition. It sees MNCs as instruments of national power and promotes national champions. This approach emphasizes protecting strategic industries from foreign competition. These frameworks provide insights into global economic actors' motivations. Section 7. The Global Impact of MNCs: A Story of Winners and Losers. The impact of MNCs on the global economy is complex and multifaceted. They have contributed to economic growth, innovation, and the creation of jobs. They have also facilitated the transfer of technology and knowledge across borders. However, the benefits of globalization have not been evenly distributed. Some countries and regions have benefited more than others. Within countries, the gap between the rich and the poor has widened in many cases. The rise of MNCs has also contributed to job displacement in developed countries. As companies relocate production to countries with lower labor costs, workers in developed economies face unemployment or lower wages. The environmental impact of MNCs is another area of concern. Extractive industries in particular have been linked to deforestation, pollution, and climate change. Section 8. The Need for a New Paradigm: Rethinking Regulation and International Cooperation. Given the significant influence of MNCs on the global economy, it is imperative to rethink regulation and international cooperation to ensure more equitable and sustainable outcomes. Existing regulatory frameworks are often inadequate to address the challenges posed by globalization. There is a need for stronger international cooperation to prevent a race to the bottom in terms of labor and environmental standards. International organizations such as the United Nations and the World Trade Organization have a crucial role to play in setting global standards and ensuring a level playing field.
Governments need to work together to close tax loopholes that allow MNCs to avoid paying their fair share of taxes. Increased transparency and accountability are essential to hold MNCs responsible for their actions.
Section 9. Towards a more equitable future: Balancing the scales of global economic power. Balancing the power of MNCs with the needs of society and the environment is one of the defining challenges of our time. It requires a multifaceted approach involving governments, international organizations, civil society, and the private sector.
Governments need to prioritize the well-being of their citizens and resist the temptation to prioritize corporate interests over the public good. They need to invest in education, healthcare, and social safety nets to ensure that the benefits of economic growth are shared more equitably.
International organizations need to be strengthened and reformed to ensure that they are representative and accountable. They need to play a more active role in regulating global markets and promoting sustainable development.
Section 10. Conclusion: Charting a course for a more just and sustainable global economy. MNCs are powerful actors in the global economy. Their influence can be a force for good or for ill. It is up to us to shape the rules of the game to ensure that globalization benefits everyone. By promoting responsible business practices, strengthening regulations, and fostering international cooperation, we can harness the power of MNCs to create a more just and sustainable global economy. A world where economic progress goes hand in hand with social justice and environmental sustainability.